The moment the high-voltage transmission lines across the Continental Interconnect begin to sing with the terminal hum of a phase shift collapse, you are no longer a citizen of a modern digital civilization. You are a biological entity trapped in a rapidly cooling concrete husk. As the synchronized frequency of the grid drops below the critical 57 Hz threshold, protective relays trip in a blind, cascading sequence that plunges entire latitudes into a permanent, hollow silence. In this immediate vacuum of power, the average individual instinctively looks upward, searching the sky for the sun or scanning the horizon for the flicker of a distant utility crew, completely unaware that the most stable, potent, and overlooked energy source for long-term survival is currently pressing against the soles of their boots. The danger here is not merely the darkness, but the lethal ignorance of thermodynamics. While you scramble for a flashlight or a handful of AA batteries, chemical storage units that are already beginning their irreversible decay, the ambient temperature of your environment is preparing to strip the kinetic energy from your very cells. This is the initiation of day zero, where the transition from a consumer of electricity to a manager of thermal gradients determines whether your residence remains a shelter or becomes a tomb. To analyze the anatomy of a grid-down survival scenario, we must first dismantle the fundamental misunderstanding that energy is a commodity delivered through a copper wire. Most survivalists fixate on solar arrays or wind turbines, complex systems that are fragile, highly visible to hostile scavengers, and dependent on sophisticated power electronics that are vulnerable to electromagnetic pulse or simple mechanical wear. This reliance on surface energy is a strategic error of the highest magnitude because it ignores the massive, consistent thermal inertia of the Earth itself. The hidden science that has been largely scrubbed from the modern architectural consciousness is the exploitation of the deep Earth constant. Just 6 to 10 feet below the frost line, regardless of whether the surface is locked in a sub-zero blizzard or a blistering heat wave, the Earth maintains a stable temperature between 50 and 60 degrees Fahrenheit. This is not a free energy conspiracy. It is the result of the Earth's massive thermal mass acting as a low-pass filter for solar radiation and atmospheric fluctuations. The evidence of this principle's efficacy is found in the ancient Yakchal structures of the Persian desert and the root cellars of the American frontier, which maintained life-saving thermal stabilities without a single watt of external electricity. The survival implications of this secret energy source are absolute when the external atmosphere moves into the extremes of an SHTF winter or summer. In a total blackout, your primary caloric expenditure is diverted to thermoregulation, your body burning through its fat and muscle reserves just to maintain a core temperature of 98.6 degrees against a 20-degree room. If you can bridge the gap between your living space and the thermal constant under your feet, you reduce that caloric demand by over 60%. This is the difference between needing 4,000 calories a day to stay alive and needing 1,500. However, the escalation of the crisis occurs when the unprepared attempt to solve this problem with open fire. Burning furniture or scavenged timber inside a modern, poorly ventilated apartment creates a secondary danger, carbon monoxide poisoning in the thermal chimney effect, where the fire actually sucks the remaining warm air out of the room and replaces it with freezing oxygen from the exterior. The transition to true survival mastery requires moving beyond the primitive combustion of the masses and tapping into the geothermal bridge that has been hidden by the convenience of the fossil fuel age. As the escalation continues and the urban environment becomes a landscape of frozen pipes and burst plumbing, the danger of enteric pathogens becomes the next silent killer. Without electricity to run the municipal lift stations and treatment plants, every drop of surface water becomes a reservoir of cholera, dysentery, and giardia. This is where the energy under your feet shifts from a thermal regulator to a life-saving filtration engine. By analyzing the soil composition and the geological strata of your immediate area, you can exploit the principle of bank filtration and capillary rise. The Earth is not just a heat sink, it is a massive, multi-stage pressurized filter. Hidden within the physics of soil science is the reality that you can harvest purified, thermally stable water by utilizing low-point collection systems that tap into the shallow water table. The misunderstanding here is that one needs a deep, motorized well to access clean water. The science reveals that a simple drive point or Abyssinian well manually hammered into the strata can bypass the contaminated surface runoff that will be poisoning the desperate masses in the streets. This is tactical resource acquisition that requires no fuel, no noise, and no visible signature to alert others to your location. Evidence of this forbidden utility can be seen in the way emergency management protocols for government continuity bunkers are designed. They do not rely on solar panels that can be obstructed by smoke or soot, nor do they rely on wind. They rely on the Earth's crust for cooling, heating, and water. The transition into a long-term grid-down reality means you must view your backyard or even the basement floor of a city building as a battery that never drains.
If you possess the engineering knowledge to construct a ground-coupled heat exchanger using scavenged PVC or metal piping, you can circulate air or fluid through the earth to keep a secure bunker or a reinforced room at 55 degrees indefinitely. While the world outside is experiencing the end of normal, characterized by the violent fluctuations of a dead climate and a dead grid, your environment remains locked in the geological steady state. This is the tactical advantage of the underground, a strategic invisibility and energetic stability that allows you to outlast the initial violent culling of the unprepared.
Subscribe now for survival secrets. Be prepared like the lone wolf.